Hello, Royalers. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady TrenettWilson, and I'm so honored to always bring you a great episode. And today's episode is going to be a little different. Now, normally when I'm doing our classes, our studies here, we do a lecture on an individual. But today I wanted to do a little discussion around etiquette. I'm an etiquette professional. I run the largest etiquette association in the nation serving urban youth. And it is an honor to teach etiquette in a time when not being nice is something that people do quite often. And I thought it would be great to talk about the brouhaha that has kicked up in the royal family surrounding the subject of race. And so today's episode is going to be about race and etiquette and how we can use the situation between Ngozi Fulani and Lady Susan Hussey to talk about race, how to heal around the conversations, and how to have a conversation without everybody leaving, picking up their toys and leaving the room. It's something we have to deal with and something we have to learn to talk about. So thank you for joining me. I can't wait to see your comments because the truth is we're dealing with people on a business level and even a personal level more and more who cross racial lines, who cross cultural lines. And so if we can't talk about this, it's going to keep being this polarization between one another. And that's not the world we live in. So I think this is a great opportunity instead of getting angry, picking up your toys and leaving. Let's talk about it. How can etiquette teach us how to deal with each other better around the issue of race? So I'm very excited about this subject. And in recent days, it's really, necessary because in recent days, the topic of racism and the royal family has dominated the press. Though, accusations of racism have always followed the royal family because of their participation in the slave trade. In recent years, it's picked up since the marriage of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, because she's been saying that she's been treated unfairly and experienced racism within the royal family. Now, the royal family denies this vehemently. They say they have welcomed her with open arms and have tried to show her how much they care about she and Harry, but it's been ugly. And I think that now is a great time to talk about this, especially since they're slated, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are slated to pick up an award from the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation, the daughter of Robert F. Kennedy, for structural racism within the royal family. Shots fired. So we need to talk about it. I mean, we can even talk about family etiquette. This is a great example of a lack of family etiquette and what's going on here. So we can talk about that too. I'll do another video, but this is about race etiquette and really how can we heal from it. So we want to look at what happened, look at where Lady Susan went wrong, where Ngozi went wrong, how we can do better as a culture, as a people, as a society around this subject. So let's lay the groundwork a little bit. Recently, Queen Camilla, and she's the Queen of England, she hosted an event for to honor domestic violence survivors as well as the program directors who run these agencies. One woman who attended the event, her name is Ngozi Fulani, and her they say her real name is Marlene, but nevertheless, she goes by Ngozi Fulani, and she is the one of the, I guess, program directors for a place called Sister Space. So Ngozi attends the event, and on the other side, she accused a lady named Lady Susan Hussey of being racially of discrimination, basically. Now, Lady Susan has worked for the royal family for 62 years, and she has been a lady in waiting to Queen Elizabeth II and now to Queen Camilla. So she's been in the family a long time, and she's been to a lot of these events. So here you have these two people. Now, this is Ngozi, and this is the outfit that she wore to this event. And the reason I put that there because when the woman, though she accuses of racism, Lady Susan Hussey asked her, where was she from? Was she from Africa? If you were to look at Ngozi, would you assume she was from Africa? And so in Britain, in this environment, most people would have. Now, is that insensitive? It could be, and it could be perceived as insensitive because Ngozi, in fact, says that she was born and raised in Britain, and her family are from the Caribbean. So why is she offended? I'm proud. All of us have some African in us. So she was offended for being asked about being from Africa when, in fact, we all are from Africa, and she had on clothing that kind of gave off African vibes. So I think sometimes around the subject of race, we're always on go. We're always on pins and needles and angry going into conversations looking for things to pick apart. But if I were there and she had on those clothes, I would have asked the same question. But it would not have been offensive for me because I didn't go in with that attitude, and I am an African American person. So um, that was the first thing that happened. She said that she was discriminated against because she asked her where she was from. Now, this interaction, Ngozi said, traumatized her. In fact, she said she had experienced domestic violence herself by this woman, Lady Hussey, asking her where she was from. And so much so that she was paralyzed and couldn't move for the rest of the event. But we see here that she was, even after the conversation, moving around and talking to other people. So again, I think we need to be fair. We need to be honest because if we don't, we can't really have a conversation. Now, why did Lady Hussey feel that she could ask her such a question? Probably because Lady Hussey's been traveling for many, many years all around the world. She's been to all different parts of Africa, all different parts of here and there. And so she was trying to make small talk, trying to make conversation. But you've got to read the room. Right now is not a time to be asking people if they're from Africa. And so I want to share with you some things that you can do and to avoid these racial conflicts and, have etiquette around the subject of race. So let's start with the first, I would say don't, because this is something that people do and they don't know that it's offensive, but it really is. Can I please touch your hair? Seeing a little puffy ball on a head may seem fascinating and it may feel like, well, I just want to touch it. It looks like cotton or it looks at, I don't know what it looks like to people, but it really is offensive. And so make sure that when you are around African American people that you don't stare at them or that you ask to touch their hair. Now, funny enough, they had an exhibit in New York and it said, you can touch my hair. So it was so many people that went by and touched the black women's hair to see what it felt like. So I do understand the fascination, but let them lead the conversation versus you leading the conversation. Now let's stay around the area of touching. The other thing is, can I please touch your skin? Your skin is so beautiful, and I would love to touch it. You know what? Let's just stay away from touching, period. Black people don't want you touching on them. You just coming up and touching their skin and rubbing their face. And I know it may be frustrating and it's not meant from an ugly place or even a racist place. It can be very frustrating to have to, like know all these rules. But keeping your hands to yourself and not touching people is probably a good rule anyway in life. So stay away from the hair, stay away from the skin, and you can admire from afar, and I think you'll be okay. Our next don't, should I say, is don't ask Black people if they're from Africa. Africa is a huge continent filled with diverse groups of people who practice different religions and who live different cultures. So when you're in that environment, especially as sensitive right now and as the subject of race is, you want to stay away from asking questions like that. Another one is trying to act black based on the stereotypes that you see on television. Black people are very diverse, and not all of them dress like this or look like this. So it's really offensive when people try to act black who are really white. So, or who are you really from European or any other descent that is not African descent. So that would go a long way if people wouldn't stereotype blacks by acting in that behavior, dressing in this way, thinking that's what defines blackness. Okay, so are you totally confused? I hope not. I hope those tips really help. And those are the don'ts. But here are some do's. Do get to know other cultures. Take a class, learn some things so that you will understand different cultures. And it doesn't have to just be African American culture. Study Asian culture, Latino culture. There's all kinds of cultures out there. The other thing is start the conversation. By talking, we all are better and made better and know more for it. So that would be a great thing to do is to talk to one another. Now, as Black people, what we can do is when we meet Europeans and different people, we don't have to automatically hate them from off the jump. They may be very nice people and not call them colonizers all the time. And it starts at childhood. So teaching our children to love one another. We are a beautiful tapestry of people, and we have to live in this world together. And the better we learn how to talk about race, the rules around race, the better we will all be as a society. To help this process along, I'm excited about my new book that's coming out in January. It's called Etiquette is the New Black, and it deals with some of these issues and etiquette around the urban community. So I can't wait for that to come out. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed the show. I hope it opened up your mind a little bit about race and etiquette and how we treat one another. Now, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.